Welcome back. New York City Comptroller and mayoral candidate Brand Lander was arrested by ICE agents at a federal immigration hearing. Lander says he was there to help undocumented people with their applications, but DHS claimed he assaulted a federal officer and impeded the proceedings. Lander was later released and charges against him were actually dropped. Lander had this to say after he was released.
I believe it is important to show up and bear witness and accompany people and to do it in the tradition of nonviolent witness. We are not going to give Donald Trump and his goons any excuse for ratcheting up conflict or violence. It is possible to show up and protect New Yorkers and protect people who have the right to seek asylum and insist on due process.
Okay, let's bring in CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarlane. Scott, that chaos, it was caught on camera outside the hearing room. Can you take us through what happened?
Yeah, this is another one of those incidents in which immigration agents are coming face to face with political leaders, elected officials who are either there monitoring, observing immigration enforcement, or to some degree protesting it. And there are so many pieces of connective tissue between the case involving the detention of Mr. Lander and what happened May 9th in Newark with the arrests of the mayor of Newark and the congresswoman who represents Newark. The former of which, the mayor's case, was dropped, latter of which, the congresswoman, is now facing a federal felony charge and the prospect of 8 years in prison. The critics of the Trump administration are arguing this is a mechanization, if not a weaponization, of immigration authorities to target those who are criticizing the immigration enforcement. But the administration is using the refrain, there's no one above the law, and even though you're an elected office holder, you cannot impede, obstruct, or interfere with a law enforcement agent, and they're alleging that's what happened with Mr. Lander.
But then the charges were dropped against him, correct?
And you've seen that in a few of the cases, but not all of the cases. You had cases being dropped promptly. In fact, you saw this past week with the senator from California, Alex Padilla, there was actually never a case brought. He was handcuffed, brought to the floor, but they didn't arrest him. But then you have the case of Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, who was doing something symmetrical to this, where she was with others trying to visit an immigration facility, and the feds allege what she did was make contact with her forearms against police and therefore was a felony. She's pleaded not guilty. She calls the case political, but you see the pattern here, where you have either handcuffing, detention, arrest, or charges of elected officials, and this is a new frontier to see this happening so frequently in these types of instances.
Yeah, and it continues to happen. Scott, I want to ask you about something different here, because I understand you have some exclusive reporting on the cost, of President Trump's pardons. What do you have to tell us about that?
A report by Democrats on the U.S. House Judiciary Committee. These are critics of the president, but a report that they've published anyhow with numbers attached shows that the cost of the pardons, the flurry of pardons that began this second Trump term, have impacted victims and taxpayers to the tune of $1.3 billion, because not only do these pardons free criminal defendants, convicted defendants from prison, it absolves them of the restitution payments they've been ordered to make, including those 1,500 plus U.S. Capitol riot defendants. A CBS News investigation found of the nearly $3 million in damages that are being sought through restitution payments from the U.S. Capitol riot defendants. The defendants had only paid back about $400,000, a small percentage of it. The pardons absolve them from paying any more. In fact, some of them are trying to get their money back if they've paid already. Then you add the tens of millions of dollars owed in restitution by some of the large-scale white-collar cases that Trump has pardoned, and the dollar amount soars from there. Trump administration responded to our CBS News reporting, saying the Biden administration issued pardons too that absolve people of restitution. It might have impacted taxpayers, but this is a pretty big dollar amount this early in the term.
It sure is, and the cost is often something that we don't consider, so thank you for bringing that to us. And I know you also reported on cuts to the Justice Department. What's happening there, and what exactly is the impact?
Pretty quick gutting of the U.S. Department of Justice, the nation's top law enforcement agency. A CBS News review of budget records inside the Department of Justice shows they've already cut 4,000 people since the Trump administration began its second term. 4,000 is about 4% of the workforce, a lot of them taking that fork in the road deferred resignation that was offered by Elon Musk and the Trump team early in the term. But also there have been firings, there have been retirements, and the FBI is looking to cut more. The budget documents show they're seeking to cut 1,500 jobs, including 700 FBI agent positions in 2026. The agency says they're trying to right size, but critics say you lose that many people that quickly inside law enforcement. You lose institutional memory, you lose experience, you lose people who are mentors and trainers, and you do put greener agents out on the street to protect against crime.
Scott McFarlane, some very, very important reporting there. Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks.